Hi, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for another legislative link up here at the NEE Center for the Study of Occupational Regulation. My name is Alana Wilson. Today, I have the pleasure to be joined with State Senator Judy Ward, because now we have two Pennsylvania state senators with the last name Ward, so I definitely want to distinguish between the two. I'll turn it over to you, Senator.
Hi, thank you so much, Alana, for hosting me. I really appreciate it. I represent the 30th Legislative District, which is all of Blair County, all of Fulton County, parts of Franklin County, parts of Cumberland County, and part of Huntington County. So it's a pretty large area, but I love it, and I really enjoy my district very, very much. Some great people and great scenery. But I was asked to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 1268, which involves temporary nurse aides. As chair of the Senate Aging and Youth Committee, I became aware of the importance of hiring temporary nurse aides in nursing homes during several public hearings held by our committee. And we were addressing the needs of long-term care facilities and workforce shortages. When the pandemic started, the Center for Medicare, CMS, suspended federal regulatory and statutory provisions to assist nursing homes in staffing shortages because of COVID-19. Pennsylvania Healthcare Association and Leading Age saw this as so important. They worked with the Department of Health, who issued guidance allowing nursing facilities to use the CMS waiver and hire temporary nurse aides. This waiver authorized individuals seeking to be hired as temporary nurse aides to complete an approved 8-hour online training and successfully pass the 50-question accompanying exam. This was in place of requiring an individual to successfully complete state-approved training and an evaluation program and 120 hours of in-class and clinical training, as well as a two-part exam. But there was just no time for the temporary nurse aides to complete that and then get them into the facilities where they were just so desperately needed. When the temporary nurse aide position, it will come to an end when the pandemic ends, because that's when the waiver will end. And that decision could come from the feds or from the state. So these individuals would have to leave their job once the waiver expires, because they would not be deemed qualified or eligible for the nurse aid registry, the certified nurse aid registry. And since the temporary nurse aid position was formally approved in the Commonwealth, nearly 3,000 Pennsylvanians have completed the training program, and hundreds have been hired to assist in long-term care facilities in response to COVID-19. So in order to prevent a mass exodus of new workers from long-term care facilities, and to provide a path forward for full-time employment as a certified nurse aide for those who have so admirably served during this COVID-19 pandemic, I agreed to sponsor Senate Bill 1268 in the Senate, and there was an accompanying bill in the House by Representative Kurt Sonny, and that's House Bill 2830. So it just allows the nurse aides that were hired during this declared emergency to be deemed to satisfy the requirement of completing a nurse aide training program and be placed on the certified nurse aide registry if they meet a certain level of training, testing, and experience. And this was widely supported by Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, PHCA, and Leading Age, and the Pennsylvania Coalition of Affiliated Healthcare Living and Living Communities, so the county home operators. And it had bipartisan support. It had 16 co-sponsors, but it was really an issue that needed addressed. And you know, God bless these nurse aides who went into these facilities during COVID to help. And I think we sort of owe it to them to, you know, let's face it, if you've worked for months and months at a facility, that should take the place of, you know, 120 hours of training and all of that. So very proud to put the measure forth. It passed in the House, passed in the Senate, and it's on the governor's desk right now. And hopefully he has until November 30th to act on it. But hopefully once it's signed into law, we believe that the education department will need to develop a process for eligible temporary nurse assistants to become certified. And the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association will work with the department on the implementation of it. But I'm very hopeful that the governor will sign it. And, it's a win-win. It's a win for them, the temporary nurse aides themselves, but a win for these facilities that they've been able to hire up. So it's been great.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate the whole synopsis on the bill, just from its inception, because those are usually my questions are, how did you get to this point? And I think you explained that very well. I think you made a really good point when you had mentioned about this being temporary, and because of COVID, it was something that the Commonwealth desperately needed, both on the side of the hospital and nursing side, as well as on the patient side. I know that you cover more rural districts, so I'm sure this is something that is given a boost to the rural districts.
Absolutely, it has. Absolutely, it has. It's interesting a lot. I mean, it seemed to fit in perfectly with my district and what is happening in my legislative district, but really throughout the state. And I was really proud to put it, the piece of legislation forth. And like I said, hopefully the governor will sign it, and this will really be a blessing to not only the temporary nurse aides, but to the nursing homes and facilities where they are employed. So it's a win-win, like I said.
Absolutely. I have to agree with that. Absolutely. Yes. I think it's really important when everybody here is a winner. So I think that's really good, a good way to look at things. So with COVID and everything, do you see any other occupations or career fields that could be or were impacted by COVID throughout the Commonwealth that maybe could use some attention when it comes to the occupational licensing side of things? Or what's next, basically, is kind of where I'm getting at.
Yeah. I think, the whole world of telehealth really opened up, and, we had a very comprehensive telemedicine bill that passed the House and the Senate, and the governor vetoed it, and it would have really helped as far as set telehealth up in the Commonwealth, but also set up the payment module for telehealth and the reimbursements and all of that. And I know many people worked long hours to try to get all these parties on board and, work with, and actually that person was my chief of staff who worked for another senator then. But it has been that was very disappointing because it's something we really need. And I think with COVID, it really brought home, and as you all are aware, I mean, there were many people, and I had physicians who would come up to me and they'd say, Judy, this is so serious. People aren't being seen for their chest pain. They're not being seen for other reasons. And they are coming into the hospital with, they're coming in very sick. They're coming in under emergency situations. They didn't want to get a heart catheterization. So now they have terrible chest pain, and they've, had a massive heart attack, or some folks have died. And so it really brought in a lot of people, a lot of physicians in their offices developed a whole telehealth program. But that's something we need to make sure is working well. Because we it just kind of, they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So it's something that they just kind of had to put together on their own pretty much. And so I think we need to kind of work with that and make sure telehealth is in all realms. It's not only physical health, it's mental health, it's drug and alcohol related. It's all of those things, but we have to make sure we're all on board, because I mean, there are some people who are too sick to go out, who don't want to go out, they don't want to take the risk. So I think that's something we need to really develop. And then that brought about kind of the issue of also broadband, and not everywhere in the Commonwealth has broadband. Yeah. And so that became very apparent very quickly, in the spring, when everybody had to work from home and they had to get their children's lessons online. And in my rural district, we had students that were going to the parking lot of the school. Maybe they were going to a convenience store and sitting outside of Sheets to get the Wi-Fi so they could get on and do their homework in a parking lot. So, COVID did bring about a lot of issues that we really do need to work on, and telehealth and broadband availability are two of those issues. And we are continuing to do that. So that's something, it's not as easy as it sounds, but I mean, there's a lot to it. So we've, I know the Senate and the House, we have a bipartisan, bicameral committee that's working on that. So, and that's a very big issue in my legislative district, the broadband. So
I can definitely see that. And I know that once upon a time when I was a staffer for the Pennsylvania Senate, that was still something that was trying to be pushed through, especially in like Somerset County and
yes.
Huntington County and things like that. So I hope that we can, find some sort of solution for the constituents of the Commonwealth who don't have that access. That is truly, in my opinion, of course, a right to have that access to proper health care. And that, would mean that they need proper broadband connection in order to have the telehealth. So we are a research center. I know a lot of researchers watch this. What can we do to help legislators for more common sense legislation when it comes to occupational licensing? So in this specific case, what could researchers potentially do to perhaps help legislators and other policymakers with this telehealth problem specifically?
So I think with legislators, form letters don't always work. But if you develop a relationship, and even if you don't have a relationship, but with your particular legislators, they have to understand how it impacts their legislative districts. And so to give them stories, someone I know, my cousin, kind of got into, some trouble with X, Y, or Z, and always wanted to be a barber, and is having trouble getting the licensure because it says that they have to have good moral character. And what does that mean? And so there has been a push in the legislature to try to fine tune some of the regulatory issues that would inhibit someone who maybe had, kind of a rough patch in their life. They want to support themselves. They want to support their families. This would give them a path forward to take out just something as simple as the clause good moral character, and that opens it up. And we were able to do that. But those are the types of stories that, and we did have recently, we did pass some legislation dealing with that. Now, obviously, if you have someone who wants to be a nurse and had a conviction for a drug issue, that's probably not the field for them. But, there are some licensures that just have clauses that make it a little bit more difficult. So we're starting to kind of clean those up and look at them and try to be able to allow people to move forward and have a path for a great career. So that is something that we have looked at and continue to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I had spoken with a state senator a few months ago now. Time is all relative at this point. 2020 is just, I feel like from March until December, one long month of March. So a few months back on Senate Bill 637, which I know really took care of the Pennsylvania Good Moral Character Clause, which was a bipartisan bill and something I think that our legislature and our Commonwealth should be very proud of. And I know that we are. And I just, I think it's really important for researchers as well as, students at St. Francis who want to get into the public arena and really wanting to get into helping people, tied a lot with our Franciscan values here. I think it's really important for them to hear from a state and local legislator on how to really get their point across. And I think bringing up the idea of telling your legislators stories more so than form letters does go a long way, because it is that personal touch, I think, that really takes it to the next level.
Absolutely. And I have put forth many of my legislative agenda items have been because I had constituents who came to me and said, this is a problem. And let me tell you how it's a problem. And so everything from milk haulers and being shut down with the weather emergencies, and when the roads are shut down and the highways, the milk haulers can't get into the farms to get the milk back out, and it has become a problem. So it's my best legislation has come about through constituents and the needs that constituents bring to my attention. So I think a lot of legislators are that ways also. I mean, it just, those are my best ideas. So there's someone else's. But we have, there's been a track, I mean, we're working on a lot of reform as far as, with folks who have gotten into some trouble with the law, and maybe even, some judicial reform. Maybe it's someone who has spent some time in prison, but we want them to leave with, an education or a trade or something. And so, to minimize recidivism. So some of these licensed, the barbers and some of these licensed, occupations, we can help them with just making it suit them a little bit better, right? So, and that's something we've got to be aware of. And there's such a job market out there, and employers are always, I mean, everywhere I go, employers are telling me, we need people to work. We need people to fill these slots. We need, I'd hire more truck drivers. I'd hire 40 of them. I can't get them. So, just to be able to get people into the workforce is something we need to be better at. So that's something we are working on.
And it's funny, I think you took my next question and ran with it, but I'll ask it anyway. I was going to ask, what's next for you? It seems like you're really going towards this economic mobility, workforce development, criminal justice reform aspect of occupational licensing. I don't know if that is on the ball or not, but it seems like that's the direction you're going. But I'll let you go ahead and tell our viewers in your own words, really what's next for you with occupational licensing throughout the Commonwealth.
Well, our legislative session will end November 30th. So this is the time where we put forth a lot of maybe issues that didn't get resolved in the last session, and we can put our bills forth again. And that's something I will be looking at here in the next month to do. I do have a few things that didn't get done. I really was very successful. I was able to get quite a few things over the finish line, and excited about that and happy to do that. But we've got some more things that didn't get done, so we're going to work on those. And my legislative issues really are pretty broad. Like I say, that things that constituents have brought up to me, some things that we think need tweaked or changed, and sometimes they're not huge issues, but some of the smaller ones are the most meaningful to people sometimes. So the world's my oyster, so I'm open.
Absolutely, absolutely it is. No, we really appreciate it, and we'll wrap it up here. I really, really appreciate your time. I know that your schedule has been more chaotic than ever, back and forth between Harrisburg and home base, and I just really wholeheartedly appreciate you taking the time out to discuss these important issues for us with me and with our audience. And like I said, there's a lot of researchers out there all over the world who generally that we work with on occupational licensing, who always watch these videos and come to us for like different legislative advice. So this is actually the reason why we started putting these legislative link up sessions together. So we really, really appreciate your time. If you want to take the time to tell the viewers how they're able to reach you, connect with you, or keep up with you, I'll turn it over.
Sure, absolutely. I'm on Facebook, and my website is senatorjudyward.com. You can sign up for my legislative updates on that. And like I said, I'm also on Facebook. So please feel free to get on those platforms, and don't hesitate to reach out if I can be helpful. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and it was an honor to be able to speak with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much again, and thank you all for joining us for another installation of our legislative link up here at the NE Center for the Study of Occupational Regulation. Have a great weekend, have a safe holiday, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you.